where I am, but down the side of Dunn's here, just about to come on to Patrick Street, and it's officially just 4:20 now, so happy 4:20 everybody out there. Weather is fucking mighty here today, so hopefully people will appreciate the protest that's about to unfold. We've got so it's a bag full of brownies. Pity I didn't bring my bloody hat. Starting to lash. Great crack. What's happening, Cunter? Scatnest. See the chats is coming in there now, guys. Dale again, that's going down. This is where we're at. Cool shit. I was really hoping that it would have been maybe a bit drier than this, but yeah, fucking work out what you got. We get set up here now for this protest. Put my bag down safely. What's happening, Sean? I see Sean out there, Peter out there as well. So we're just setting up the tripod, guys. Yeah, hype. On me lonesome, pal. For now, anyway. There might be one or two people lingering around just waiting for me to start shouting. Go on, Billy Bonds, get that civil disobedience done. We flip the camera there, but sideways. Stick it into its mouth. I'm fucking laughing. You see me now? Flip the camera. So this is where we're at, guys. Just putting the legs down on the stand. So as I was saying, guys, it's not as busy as I would have liked to have down there, but there's a nice old crowd kind of strolling on by there now, so we'll see if we can give away some of these brownies to the good old people of Cork here. Yeah. Let's see what way to be the best way to put this out. Nice one, Dale. Appreciate that, dude. The only thing impressive here now at the moment is my backdrop. It's quite nice, isn't it? I'll show you the other windows there before we get going. We move my hand. Sorry.
Alright everybody, Merry Christmas first of all guys, and sorry for interrupting your day out shopping guys, but I'm down here doing a little protest today. And my protest today guys, it's a nice festive one. Behind me here, I've got a big bag of brownies and I'm going to give them out free to people in a couple of minutes. But before I do so guys, I'd like to tell you why I'm doing it here today. First of all, it's a birthday of an absolute legend of a woman. A woman who's so much of a rebel you'd almost mistake her from being from Cork. But she's not. She's from all the ways across the pond over in San Francisco. Her name is Jane Rathbun, and an aptly named woman too. Mary Jane is otherwise known as Brownie Mary. And over in San Francisco in the late 80s and the early 90s, Mary Jane Rathbun gave out cannabis brownies to the AIDS community, to the gay community within that area. At the time, as you might well know, in San Francisco, there was an epidemic with AIDS within the gay community, and cannabis was an incredible solution to help people just get a better quality of life. So Mary Jane Rathbun done some incredible things in her time. She broke the law. She went out and openly gave cannabis in the form of brownies to the patients who needed it. So I'm down here today, guys, because we need this change here in Ireland. There's patients currently suffering in Ireland. There's patients who've had to leave Ireland to go to other countries to get access to this plant. So I'm down here today, openly breaking this law in defiance of it, in the hope that the government will pay bloody some attention and do the right thing and put the change that's needed. Bring Alicia home, that's the most important one. Alicia Maher, guys, is a Cork woman. She's now forced to live abroad in Alicante to get access to medical cannabis for her chronic pain. So I'm down here today happily breaking the law and in support of people like Alicia and the many other patients across the island of Ireland who need access to cannabis as a medicine. So guys, Mary Jane Rathbun, she was born on the 22nd of December, so today is Mary Jane's birthday, and should Mary Jane have been alive today, it would have been her 99th birthday. So I've actually got 99 brownies back here in honour of Mary Jane. So if you want to gather around, I'll start giving them out in a couple of seconds. But Mary Jane was popularly known, as I said, as Brownie Mary. She was an American medical cannabis rights activist and a hospital volunteer at the San Francisco General Hospital. She became known for baking and distributing cannabis brownies to AIDS patients. Along with other activists such as Dennis Perone, Rathbun lobbied for the legalization of cannabis for medical use, and she helped to pass the San Francisco Proposition P, which in 1991 allowed access to cannabis for patients. Patients were able to grow their own cannabis and others were able to grow for them. And Mary's civil disobedience was a pivotal part in getting that change. So that's why I'm down here today engaging in civil disobedience, because people like Mary done it before. They got the change, they got what they desired, and it needs to be done. I'll also just read out a quick excerpt there from a recently published article by Dr. Garrett McGovern. Dr. Garrett McGovern, guys, is an addiction specialist here in Ireland, and he's an outspoken critic of the prohibition of drugs, and cannabis more specifically. He had an article recently published in the journal.ie, so check it out if you don't want to listen around. But a number of years ago, Garrett says, a mother called to his clinic and asked him if he would see her son. He had been arrested for the possession of cannabis for his own personal use. An appointment was arranged with this young lad, and listening to the young man's story, it became apparent to Garrett that he was not dependent on his cannabis use. He reported no negative health impacts, and he was working a full-time job and getting on with his life. His solicitor advised him to engage in a treatment program for his addiction, and that's an inverted commas there, addiction. He's only got an addiction because he got caught with the cannabis, let's remember. As the court would view him more favourably if he engaged with this treatment program when the time arrived. The hearing came and went. He was handed a probation order and required to continue his rehabilitation, providing regular urine tests to show he was no longer using cannabis. Here was a young man who didn't have an addiction or a problem with cannabis, and he was put through a court hearing with the risk of adverse media coverage too, might I add. He was also required to see an addiction specialist. He had to secure the services of a solicitor and a barrister, and he was also required to later see a probation officer, and he was required to provide regular urine tests to prove that he was no longer consuming illegal drugs. It had Garrett thinking, what was the cost of this conviction? What was the financial cost to the state? And he considers it to be a very considerable cost. He also goes on to say that the judicial process and subsequent criminalisation and conviction were stigmatising and affected this young man's future opportunities in terms of employment and travelling abroad. And for what? To teach him a lesson to not use cannabis again? Even if that end was achieved, and it rarely is, Garda lads, that is some price to pay for a drug that you didn't even have a significant problem with in the first place. If this young man did have a problem with cannabis, he should have been able to access treatment without the fear of law, and therein lies the problem, Garrett says. Criminalising people who use drugs makes them less likely to seek help when they need it. You only have to look at Portugal to see how decriminalisation and a health-led approach to drug use has immeasurably improved the social landscape in that country and made seeking treatment for drug problems a little different from seeking treatment to any other health issues. Ireland has made great strides over the past 10 years, Garrett's added, and he references the supervised injection drug centres, but sadly, since 4 years ago when that was approved, not one has been opened yet today, and still people are dying on the streets of Ireland, injecting down the back alleys, discarding needles all over the place, and that's primarily down not to the drug users, it's down to incompetent government politicians who refuse to engage with the communities and put the change in place that's needed here. Not just for people to take drugs, but to save lives. He goes on to say there are so many who believe that in order to make people safer from cannabis, it should be regulated and controlled in much the same way that we do with alcohol and tobacco. They need to be taxed properly and taken out of the hands of the dangerous drug cartels that are so rampant across the island of Ireland. And they're actively hiring our young people as young as 12, 10, 11-year-olds are running drugs across the streets of Ireland thanks to this prohibition of drugs. He goes on to say that regulating cannabis properly would protect the young people who are the group that are most vulnerable to its harms. And he's alluding to the fact that cannabis to the young brain, it's a dangerous thing for them to be messing around with, but it's easy for them to get under the model of prohibition. So Garrett calls for us to learn from abroad, places like Malta who've recently went on to legalise cannabis, where citizens can now grow and produce cannabis at home. They can form social clubs and get access to cannabis, and that provides a great relief for the patients because it smashes the stigma that once existed around the consumption of cannabis. So guys, go check out that article. That wasn't all of it there at all that I read, but Garrett McGovern, guys, on the journal.ie, that's where that was taken from. And again, I'm down here today to celebrate Mary Jane Rathbun's birthday, otherwise known as aka Brownie Mary. So guys, if you'd like a brownie, come on over and I'll give you a mug. Thanks very much. Hey, Clive, that's Andrew, mate. You want a brownie?
You with these legally.
There you go, no problem at all. There we go, guys. Some are bigger than others. Apologies if you get a smaller one. There we go. No problem.
You're hanging out for a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, brownie.
Oh, yeah, cool.
I'm gonna go with my coffee.
No bother.
Yeah, no bother, lads. There you go, lads. There you go, lads. They're just brownies anyway, lads, so not to worry. There you go, lads.
Based on the context clues, I wasn't sure if they were just brownies.
But I was going to bring down a load of back for a few ones, but then I was thinking it'd be much more better crack if the cops showed up and the cops got me instead of
No, you're man.
But if any of you actually do want some brownies, we'll be doing some events throughout the year. I know I always bring down a batch and I get them out to the crowd for people who don't know this stuff. American's World Podcast, so it's YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, all of those places. You got one, that's it. There you go. For the simple reason I want to share kids and point that out in a few minutes, like, you know, that easy danger that lies out there because of prohibition. People just give them out to anybody, like, there's no age limit there, like, so we'll be making that point there shortly.
Yeah.
Did you get a brownie, you know? Oh, you did get one? Ah, perfect. Alright,
Well,
so that's a job. Just last night, so they're fresh out, like, well, you gone as well, yeah? Merry Christmas, like.
So,
should I hold off on these ones or what?
Maybe the lads might like. He's actually got the juice ones there as well. I knew there was somebody coming with juice ones.
You all legal age, eh?
Yeah, they didn't got the straw.
You all legal age for the thing there's no legal age for?
I actually had a fella refuse to sell it to me once.
So guys, good old attendance there. We had a nice crowd gathered around, stopping listening to us. So yeah, we might give one more shout out there now. And yes, nice on everybody for tuning in. Casas, nolla conadif, buddy. Feliz Navidad. Dailgan, nice on as well, Dailgan. I see some support coming in for the show there, guys. Absolute legends.
What's the name of the councillor, the MEP who
Nice one, guys. I just looking through all your comments there, guys. I really appreciate everybody stopping by. Give the video a share anyway. And again, just to add, guys, you know, there was young people came up there and they took some brownies. And if anybody's alarmed out there, there's batches of brownies in there that have nothing inside them at all. But it just adds to the reasons why the government need to put this change in place, because you know there's no rules around these criminals selling these products to kids now currently. And those young fellas, like, they were very interested in getting their hands on some cannabis edibles. So again, it just really reinforces the need for this kind of protection that regulation will give. Because these brownies, you know, they very easily could have contained cannabis. They very easily could have contained fucking rat poison for all they know, you know. So it just has to be taken into consideration. So nice on everybody for tuning in. Rashers, legend. Well done, mate. True activism. Appreciate that, man. John Finian, he says, Martin is my brownie in the post. Alexa said it, John. Legends. Wait, there's no cannabis. There is cannabis there, alright, Casa, but we have those in a separate side of the bag, don't worry. And they're marked, so it's all wrapped in tin foil, but the cannabis ones have a little green mark on them. Just because I wanted to be able to give them out to people of all ages. I didn't want to be turning people away or anything. So I did make up quite a few with no cannabis in them, but there is some in there, and that adds to the fun. Then if the cops are coming to take that bag, it's just like a needle in a haystack. Like, it's like there was 99 brownies sitting there. There was about 30 of them, I think, had some infusion. So like, it just makes it more difficult. Like, there's a 30% chance there that they might have pulled out one with some infusion in there. Like, so yeah. Martin just pretending there's no cannabis. Shh, chill, more, hey. Hi and homegrown, what's happening? Nice on Scatness as well. Legend, guys. What the hell was somebody just sending? Hunter K, dude, you're an absolute legend, man. Really appreciate that support, Hunter K, man. Thanks very much, pal. Didn't expect that there at all today, but I really hope you're enjoying your beanie. Look what I did. I fucking walked out of the house without my beanie, dude. But I got my hoodie on. I'm repping. So nice one, guys. I'll end the stream there. There's one or two people around there. I'm just going to have a quick chat with them, and we'll be back with more antics in the new year, I guess. So peace and love, guys. Merry Christmas, everybody. Stay blazed and keep her lit. Bye bye.